Now, more than ever, we need to focus on stories of strength, courage, and unity. Welcome to COVID Talks, a series dedicated to promoting positive conversations during uncertain times.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 36th episode. Yes, 36th episode of COVID Talks, Positive Conversations During Uncertain Times. My name is Anthony Rapp, and I'll be your host for the evening. So first and foremost, if you're watching us live, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. If you could take a minute, go to the bottom of the post and click that share button. This way we can spread the message even further. We would appreciate that as well. And if you are tuned in and listening to our podcast, we appreciate that, of course. And thank you for downloading, and thank you for tuning into our podcast. So we have a great show tonight. We have with us Neshama Marcus from the JCC. Now, the JCC is, an invaluable part of the Staten Island community. So anyone who's watching or listening and lives on Staten Island knows the JCC is involved in so many programs, so many different ways of helping our community, especially during a time of need. And last night, we actually featured a story about the JCC that they have created a new initiative specifically for the coronavirus, specifically to deal with mental health and specifically to get people any help that they may need in this current circumstance. So we're going to bring her up shortly, and we're very, very extremely happy to have her with us. But before we get into that, we are going to do as we do each night. We're going to open up with our positive news headlines of the day. So first and foremost, some great news coming out of St. Joseph by the Sea High School in Huguenot. So the the girls flag football team over at St. Joe's, they got together, they held a fundraiser, and they were able to provide meals. They went to Egger Nursing Home, the 123 Precinct, and the Castleton Firehouse, Engine 157, Ladder 80, and distributed meals to all of our first responders here on Staten Island. So shout out to these young ladies who are doing great things, especially right now. June's coming up. Some of them are seniors, and some of them are dealing with the fact that graduation has been postponed, but they managed to come together and they managed to do something great. So great work by these young Staten Islanders. And in other news, so we were fortunate enough to have Mr. Rob DeLuca with us as a guest last week, talking about what's going on as it relates to restaurants and Staten Island restaurants opening, reopening, what's the plan. Mayor de Blasio today actually admittedly said there isn't a plan as of yet. We're not at phase 1, and restaurants are going to be at phase 3 or 4. So to me, that means the city doesn't know what's going on either. But as you can see here, Rob DeLuca, along with many, many other businesses here on Staten Island, many restaurant owners here on Staten Island, have started a campaign to invite Staten Islanders to call 311 and ask them to reopen restaurants. And as you can see, the sign says, our families need to eat, restaurant workers' families. So shout out to Rob for, first and foremost, coming on the show last week, and also for being a part of a movement here on Staten Island to try and get restaurants reopened. And last positive news headline of the day, although it's not coronavirus related, it's just something that we're proud of here at COVID Talks. COVID Talks was accepted into the iHeartRadio suite of podcasts. So we're proud to announce that you can now go and visit us and download our podcast on either iTunes or iHeartRadio. So we're very proud of that, and we hope that you guys check it out. We hope that you download it and give us a listen. All right. And how can you stay in touch with us? So follow us on Facebook at COVID Talk. Visit our website, covid-talks.com. That's where you can find all the previous episodes and previous guests, as well as upcoming guests. Of course, we encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel at COVID Talks. And now I have to update the graphic because you could check out our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And tomorrow night we have a first of its kind event here at COVID Talks. Traditionally, we have one or two guests who are expert in their field talking about a specific initiative. But tomorrow night, we're proud to have a wedding vendor roundtable event. So we're going to have a videographer, a DJ MC, and a photographer here with us live to answer questions that you may have and talk about the state of the wedding industry, postponement, and what it's going to look like when we reopen. So again, we invite you to tune in tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And finally, if you're interested in being a guest on the show, if you're interested in hosting a stream like we're doing here for yourself or for a client, or if you have a topic you want us to talk about. You don't want to be a guest, but you're just something you're interested in and you'd like to hear about it, shoot us an email, info@PRcision.com. We'd be more than happy to go through the emails and get that speaker, get that topic, or help you facilitate a stream just like this for yourself or a client. All right, so now we're back. Let me just pull this up here. Perfect. So once again, as I said in the beginning of the broadcast, the JCC on Staten Island is synonymous with community. It's synonymous with help. It has amazing programs, but in times like this, it's amazing to see what they're able to do and how they're able to help. So they launched this new coronavirus recovery program, which is open to everyone. We're going to show you how you can get the information, and we're going to put the link in the comment section so you can learn more about it. And it's designed to help people who have either suffered from the virus itself or those dealing with mental anxiety as an ancillary effect. As we all know, an ancillary effect of the virus is being shut in, and all the effects that go along with that. So we are proud to have with us on the show Neshama Marcus, who is the Chief Program Director and co-leader of the Connect to Recovery program, which is what we're going to be talking about. She's also on the Staten Island Hunger Task Force, Borough President Jim Otto's Task Force for Substance Abuse. Shout out to Jimmy Otto, doing a great job here on Staten Island. And she's also a member of the Dementia Coalition of Staten Island, among many other things. So we have with us someone who is ingrained in the Staten Island community. We're happy to have her with us, and we're going to welcome her to the show. So Neshama, are you there?
I'm here. Hi. Thanks so much for having me.
Perfect. It worked. You're there. I'm here. We could hear you. It's great. Success. So Neshama, before we talk about the program in specific and we talk about all the great work that the JCC is doing here in the Staten Island community, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you grew up, and what drew you to the JCC? Sure.
So I grew up in New Jersey, where I live with my husband and my two kids. I'm a social worker, and it's ingrained, it's inside. So I came to the JCC because I was interested in helping communities. I'm not new to Jewish community centers. Before the JCC of Staten Island, I worked at two other community centers doing youth and community development. And once I went back to school for my master's in nonprofit and public management, I came to the JCC to help them open up then it was new, the Innovative Senior Center called CLLD. So most people know about it. It's very common. And then shortly after that, we had, the big hit from Superstorm Sandy. So I helped spearhead the Connect to Recovery program then, which is how we, got the new COVID-19 Connect to Recovery program off the ground. So since then, you had mentioned the Dementia Coalition. So I've been working at the JCC getting Rosemary's Place off the ground, which is our early stage memory center. So this seemed
not to interrupt you, but you did say that you held that program very near and dear to your heart when we were talking in the green room. So tell us a little bit about that program, please. Educate me, because I'm not familiar with it.
No problem. So a few years ago, we conducted a needs assessment. So we, interviewed people who had dementia. We interviewed their family caregivers. We asked them to identify their needs and, what was important to them when they were first diagnosed. And we found that, people who were first diagnosed with dementia really just felt completely lost. They weren't sure what to do. They woke up one day and, somebody told them that they had dementia and, they felt very disconnected from others. So we opened up Rosemary's Place, which is our early stage memory center, to help people socialize with people who are also recently diagnosed.
So between the background and the smile on your face as you're talking about helping people, how long have you been with the J?
Yeah, so I celebrated my 13th year last year. So I'm not new to working with, diverse communities. I love working with different populations in need. So I started out with youth. I went to the seniors. Then I went into social services, and now we're back into recovery, which kind of contracts as needed, and then we expand as soon as
the ability to adapt.
The community needs us. Yep, absolutely.
Be like a chameleon. So before we get into the program, as far as the new program that you're spearheading, I made a statement that, to me at least, and I think anyone watching, listening now, or watching or listening in the future, anyone will agree that the JCC is, a pillar within the community. You think of the YMCA, the JCC. These are names that everyone in the borough knows. and you do great work. What do you think makes the J so invaluable to the community?
Sure. So I think that I think what makes it unique is that it's very low barrier. So JCC, like you said, is one of the largest social service agencies on Staten Island, right? Last year we celebrated our 90th anniversary. So clearly we're not new to the community. But most people don't enter our programs or enter our social service programs for the social service programs. They come in thinking that they're going to use a fitness center, the aquatic center, camping, youth, all the different, community-wide pockets. And then somebody has a tragic, turn of events and they need the food pantry, or, they lost their job and they need access to health insurance, or, somebody that they work with has difficulty speaking English and, needs English as a second language. So most people don't come to the JCC necessarily for social services. And the second that they come in, they realize the plethora of services that we offer.
So it's more than a gym and a pool, just so everyone's clear.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely more than a gym and a pool.
Yeah.
So I know you guys are working
there in those rooms every once in a while.
So now I know you guys, remotely and safely, of course, but you guys are still working. It's not like you've taken off because of what's going on. How are you guys actively keeping yourselves safe and people who need these services? How are you, there's no longer face-to-face, and in some of these services, I imagine, you need that sort of interaction. So what have you guys done to sort of adapt to still handle the casework that comes in, but keep yourself and the people who need the assistance safe?
Sure. It's very much a loaded question because it really depends on the programs. What I can tell you is that all of the services that were able to go remote immediately went remote, whether it's the socialization programs, recreational educational programs, things like that. We give tips every day about how to stay healthy, all that kind of stuff. The part that was really challenging was shifting the meal program because everyone's in need of meals, right? So it's difficult to say, all of a sudden we can't provide meals anymore or figure out how to go remote. No, those are in-person services. So we immediately transitioned to a drive-through process for our food pantry and what we call grab-and-go meals, which means that Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, people can come to the JCC, stay in their cars, wear a mask, and be given, meals from staff who are also, fully covered in PPE, personal protective equipment.
Now that's, just came to my mind. That's been something. We had a gentleman by the name of Christopher Haynes, who was on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he was in the advance because he had done that drive-by food pantry.
Yes.
We had the president of the Verrazano Kiwanis Club, Michelle Krupi, with us, and that organization, in conjunction with Assemblywoman Maliatakis, hosted multiple. I think they did 4 or 5 of these drive-by pantries. So this is something that it seems like it's really, unfortunately, we need it, but it's having a lot of success. Am I correct?
The word success is kind of tricky.
Success in its goal, I should say.
Yeah, what I can tell you is that we feed somewhere between 200 to 400 people every day.
Right. So my success meant the people who needed the food, and you're able to safely get it in the hands of people who need it.
Correct. I'm messing with you.
I know. It's fine. Yeah.
So what I can tell you is that we didn't realize how much, hunger there is on Staten Island. Like I mentioned, we sit on the Staten Island Hunger Task Force. Every year we serve about 10,000, food packages a year. In the first month of COVID, our numbers doubled than what it was last year. So just to give people some context, we have a lot of participants who have come for programming. We have early childhood parents where the kids are in our early childhood programs who recently lost their jobs and are now using the food pantry. People are accessing it in different ways now.
And we also had Joe Tornello, the CEO of Meals on Wheels. He was a guest on the show as well.
Good friend of ours, yeah. Yeah,
Joe was great. And he said the impact of applications that came in, it almost doubled, in the onset of the outbreak. And they did everything they could. They're still out there every day. They tweaked their services to make it safe, but they're serving somewhere in the area of, I think it's 750,000 meals a year just to homebound seniors in Staten Island. So when you hear, I don't want to say people don't associate with it, but a lot of people don't associate Staten Island with a borough in need of food per se. And when you hear these numbers, it's like, it's very eye-opening and awakening.
It is. I mean, what I can tell you is that it's very interesting to see the different food needs on Staten Island. So you had mentioned Meals on Wheels. So that's for people who are over 60, who are also, considered homebound, who have difficulty preparing their own meals. And then you have the people who are either, affected by COVID, are scared to go out of their houses. So what are they supposed to do? You know what I mean? So that's where the drive-through pantry comes into play, or the grab-and-go meals comes into play. They're able to heat the food up themselves. They're able to prepare their own food, but they don't want to take on the risk of going to local supermarkets.
Well, good. That's another program I learned that you have that I was unaware of.
Yeah.
So let's go into the new program that, the Advance wrote a really nice feature article on you yesterday, I believe, talking about this new coronavirus. Now it's Connect to Recovery, right? I want to call it the right thing.
Yeah, so,
Connect to Recovery. So I'm going to bring it up here on this feed so people could see it. I'm also going to put a link right now in the comment section so that people can go to the website and learn about it. But so tell us about the program, how it works, who is it open to, and what are you guys trying to achieve with it?
Sure. So the Connect to Recovery program was meant to be like an all-inclusive program for people that were affected by COVID. So it's meant to serve their immediate needs, whether it's food security, health insurance enrollment, or their emotional needs. We provide mental health support, art therapy. The goal is to get people back on track, both on an individual basis and the Staten Island community. So if you go to sigjcc.org, you can see like the whole list of services. Recently opened up. Yeah, you're looking at it now. We recently opened up our bereavement support groups. That's for people who have lost, family, friends due to COVID.
Wow. So we were talking in the green room a little bit, and I know last night's guest, we were talking about it, and it seems like the more, or the further along, I should say, the further along this pause or pandemic, whatever we want to call it, the more it lasts, or the longer it lasts, the more we're hearing about the fragility of mental health and the effect of mental health. So talk to us about that, because I know we were talking about it, but what are you seeing, on a day-to-day as far as dealing with the ancillary effect of mental health as it relates to the virus?
Sure. So that's probably one of the most common questions that I get. It's really tricky because we're entering new and uncharted territory. So I think that most people are affected by various losses, and it's considered like compound grief, compound loss. So like you have people that lost, family members, friends, teachers, etc. And then that's enough of itself, right? But then you have, people that have lost, jobs, they've lost income, they've lost their sense of self, they've lost their identity, like if I'm not, the worker that I was, then who am I now? You have people that are transitioning into new roles. So I know as a mom, I'm doing the remote learning with my kids. It's a totally uncharted territory, right? And then for me, I think the last piece is the loss of certainty. So, if my kids ask me questions about COVID, when can I go back to school? When can I go back to camp? When's our vacation coming up? Those kind of things. And I don't have the right answers for them, or I don't have answers that I can say with certainty. So if I can't, provide answers to my kids, then they're sensing that sense of uncertainty also. And I think that's, really challenging for our community.
You hit a lot of topics right there on the head. That's interesting. So thank you for that.
It's very loaded. I know.
No, but that's good. You have great responses to the question. So now, as it relates to the program, and again, I'm pulling my expertise knowledge from the website and from the article that was written in the SI Advance. But it said that when people go, and again, if anyone watching or listening later on, it's in the comment section. Go right to the website. It'll give information on how you can receive help. But they mentioned that there's going to be a full evaluation. So an interested party or person, if they apply, and I don't know if that's the right term, so you can correct me, but if they reach out and they need assistance, they're going to receive an evaluation. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Sure. So I think the term evaluation is scary, so I don't want to use that. I don't want anyone to evaluate me, and I don't want to evaluate anyone else.
Okay. No judgment. Judgment free.
So we call it intake and assessment. So the purpose is not to, evaluate, who you are, what you need, all that kind of stuff. The goal is really to get us like an overall sense as to how we can best assist you. So I'll give you an example. Somebody comes in and they need food, right? Chances are there's several issues, right? Chances are they either don't know how to budget, they're not getting the income that they need. They need employment. It's possible that they have a foreclosure, emergency shut off, something that's preventing them from using that money for food. So in order to do right, by our participants, we want to make sure that we're not just looking at that one need, we're looking at, them from a holistic perspective.
So it's a full suite of services. Is that fair?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Outsider looking in, it's a suite of services that's available to sort of say,
like,
all right.
Another example, right? So let's say you have, a person who's experienced domestic violence or intimate partner violence, right?
Right.
They're coming for food, right? And they mentioned that they're, a victim or a survivor of domestic violence. Chances are they need either a place to stay, or they might need legal support, or there's other things that are there.
Always an underlying issue.
There's always underlying issues.
And you're ready to jump and facilitate just about anything that these people can need, correct? So that's great.
It's our thing. Yeah.
I like that. It's our thing. Helping people is our thing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the question that I ask everyone, and there is no answer. It's a loaded question, but again, anyone who's on the show, I consider an expert, and your opinion is more valuable than anyone else. So in your opinion, what do you think the world looks like when we open up? How do you see it playing out? I mean, from a perspective of the JCC, of course. How do you think people are going to be comfortable going in the pool? Do you think they're going to go back to the gym? Now I'm saying when we're allowed to do so.
Yeah.
And then from a mental standpoint, because you touched on that, and people who I know people personally who haven't gone out in 3 months, adults who they're not in any danger with underlying conditions. They're just scared to go out, and I don't blame them. But I know a lot of people like that. Now you got a 35, 40-year-old male or female that hasn't gone out in the world. They've been getting things delivered, their groceries, now they got to go out. So, I mean, a lot is at play. How do you think that this looks, or how does it pan out? What do you think?
You're right. That is a loaded question.
I told you I wasn't going to disappoint you with that one.
Yeah. So I think that part of the challenge is that, everyone has their own experiences and interests and needs. And I think that there's a lot of people that, are doing the quarantining, and that looks very different to different folks, right? And then you have some folks who, are not seeing any type of risk, whether it's perceived or actual. So I'm not sure, but I think that what's most important is that, us, like most agencies, are preparing for all different options. I know that, I had heard that there were like informal polls going around where people were asking, for example, parents whether or not they'd be interested in enrolling their kids in programs. Right. And most parents said yes, which to me was surprising, but it happens. I think that there are some folks who are tired of being, in their homes, and there are some folks who are, planning to stay in their homes for quite some time. And I think that we just have to make sure that we're supporting everybody. For the folks that are out and about, we have to be safe. And for the people that are at home, we want to make sure that we're providing them with the, services, whether it's remotely or, emotional support telephonically or, all that good stuff.
And now, so that's interesting, because that leads me to a question I wouldn't have asked you, given your background and given the JCC and what we're talking about. But a lot of business owners that we have on the show, small business, large business, we talk about how they adapt. So you just mentioned telephonically, or how you're doing telehealth and stuff. Do you think that there's anything that has been implemented during this time that is going to continue and is going to be useful for the J, for a certain program, any program in the future, to be able to, because you could say, well, you know what, this was a terrible situation. We created this, and it's not just a Band-Aid, because when we're open and the world is good, we could use this, and we're going to be able to touch, reach, and help more people.
I think that remote programming is a very interesting baby, and I'll tell you why. Right. So if you were to ask any of our participants in any of our programs, a year ago, if they would participate or in any type of remote programming, many would say that they either don't know how to use a device, they didn't think that they'd be able to adapt. They prefer being in person. So I'll give you an example, because dementia is kind of my baby, right? So, yes. We have family caregivers who are caregiving for somebody who has dementia in their family, right? They consider support groups to be respite. So they get super excited to leave their home and participate with other family caregivers in a support group, right?
Which makes sense.
Makes sense. Perfect sense. And if you were to ask them a year ago if they would participate in a telephonic support group, the answer would be absolutely not.
Right.
And now we have like the highest, attendance rate possible, because I think that, people are looking for other opportunities to connect.
So that's good, because that's almost the answer I wanted you to say without telling you what to say.
Oh, good. Thank you.
So you were able to, because again, the show is all about positivity, right? So,
Absolutely.
there are some industries that are using the proverbial Band-Aid, like I said, who they're just creating program X to get them through to sustain. But I want to say 98%, if not 99% of the people who were on the show talking about business or programs or anything said that they're actually going to be able to use and leverage, whether it be technology or new ways of providing their service, to actually reach and help more people, whether they be clients in a transactional sense or clients from your standpoint who need the support, the help, and you'll be able to reach more people. So I think that's a positive thing. I think that when this is all over, if you're able to have just as many people physically present at the support group, but you're also able to reach someone who may not be able to get there on Tuesday night because it's raining and the cab service didn't come, you're going to help that individual as well. So I think that's a great thing. And I think that's something.
There's many agencies and many programs that are going to, adapt some type of hybrid model.
Yeah. And I think that's great because they have to now. They learned that it can be done.
It's doable. People like it. Mm-hmm.
When your back's pushed against the wall, people learn how to click a button, download an app, or turn on a laptop, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what happens. All right. So I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second because each night on the show, we do what we call the COVID Talks Hero of the Day. So we're going to do the COVID Talks Hero of the Day. This is the time where I would invite anybody who's watching us live right now, use the comment section. If you have any questions, comments that you'd like us to direct to Neshama, we will do so. So go ahead, enter your questions or comments in the comment section below. We're going to go to the COVID Talks Hero of the Day, and we will be right back with Neshama. And how appropriate is it that the JCC and their new program, which Neshama has been discussing, is our hero of the day. So we know that the JCC, as we said multiple times, is an invaluable member of the community, pillar within the community. And tonight we had the pleasure of having Neshama here with us to talk about the newest program, which was created from the ground up, specifically to help our community right now in just about every way possible. And as you heard her mention, it's an all-encompassing suite of services that they're going to be offering, and it is available right now. We put the link in the comment section. We encourage you to click it, even if you don't think that you need any of this help. Click it and look at it, because you may look at it and say, you know what, I didn't even think about that. And it's something that you may require, and it's something that the J will be there to assist you with. So shout out to David Sorkin, shout out to Allison Cohen, shout out to everybody over at the JCC for continuing to do a great job. And we're back. And thank you, of course, to you, Neshama, for spearheading the program. That goes without saying. We love you as well. All right, so I'm going to go into the comment section. We're going to see what we got. And if we have something, we will bring it up. If we don't, it's okay. It's not a problem. We want to give a shout out to Vito Canena, of course. Vito is one of our longest watching fans, I guess. I think that's wrong to say fan, because to say that there's fans is wrong. But one of our most avid viewers. So Vito, we love you. We thank you so much for tuning in every night. And Vito says social workers are great people. I agree with you. So let's see. We have a pool question. So please share with the SI community how soon the pool will be reopened. And I think the answer is going to be you don't know, but Yelena has the answer, has a question, and we're going to give it to you.
What I generally say is that we follow all, government agency recommendations. So as soon as Department of Health says it's okay to open, we'll open with, the modifications that we need to do to make it safe.
And you know what's funny? Shout out to Allison Cohen, good friend, doing great things over at the J. And she actually said the same thing. I just didn't get to the comments quick enough. So Allison, thanks for tuning in. We hope you're doing well. Thank you for helping organize and orchestrate tonight's interview. We appreciate it.
Or we corroborate.
She's the best. Allison's been doing great things in the community for many, many years. It's a privilege of me to call her a friend. So thank you, Allison, for all that you're doing. And let's see. I think we're all right. I think the comment section, we have some comments that say you look beautiful. So that's always nice to hear. Here we go from Vito. Neshama is blessed with beauty. That's nice to hear. So thank you, Vito. All right. So with that, we'll close the comment section. But I want to close as we said before. I want to close on a positive note. So in the midst of all the chaos, you guys, you personally as an individual, the J is an organization doing great things. And I've asked almost every guest on the show, despite all the nonsense, despite the quarantine, despite the closures, there's got to be a glimmer of hope. There has to be a story of positivity. Do you have anything that you can think of off the top of your head that came to fruition out of the bad? Something good that came from the bad that you could say, you know what, this was all miserable, but here's a great example of the human spirit, or here's a great example of how people have come together to help during a bad time.
Sure. I'd say that there's lots of different examples of that, but the one that first comes to mind is, we're very good friends with the Bermans, Murray and David, and
shout out to the Bermans. We love the Bermans.
Shout out to the Bermans. And they basically supported the businesses that, that rent from their strip malls. And what they did was they supported the businesses, but also provided to the JCC. And I'll give you a few different examples. So they purchased flowers from, a florist in their strip. And we donated them to the Holocaust survivors. So we, hand delivered them. We went to the survivors' houses, and they were, just overwhelmed with joy.
I like that because it's dual purpose, right? So they're helping the business owner.
Absolutely.
The business owner is making a little bit of revenue on that, keeping them afloat, and then you're taking it and doing something positive. That's great.
And they just kept doing it. So they did it with, the staff. We have a lot of essential workers that are, distributing food or, teaching remote classes, but, in person at the JCC. And,
right.
They provided us with baskets for staff to support our essential workers. We also run 3 community centers in NYCHA buildings, and they, donated dinners for, families in need, through supporting their stores. It's really just a beautiful story.
So shout out to the Bermans, doing great work in the community. The J doing great work in the community. So Neshama, I want to thank you so much for taking, 35 minutes out of your day. As you mentioned, you're doing a couple of jobs now. You're teaching during the day. You're working, trying to help all these people during the day. So we appreciate the time that you gave us. I thank you for being on the show. I'm going to bring you down in the green room. 2 minutes. I'm going to close it out and I'm going to come right back. All right.
Great.
So thank you so much. Really, really great speaking with Neshama. Really, really informative. Learning about all the stuff that the JCC is doing. And, I encourage you to go to the website. We put the link there for you to go to the website. But at the end of the day, I don't think the website is going to articulate the services, the programs, and everything that's available to you from the J, especially as it relates to this program, any better than Neshama just explained. So thank you once again, Neshama, for being with us. We really, really appreciate it. And again, anyone who needs services, go check out the website, call the J, send them an email. They will get back to you. The program is available for everyone. And what we didn't touch on, which was my mistake, I'm looking at my notes, the program is available for right now. They don't have a closing date. So this is not going to be something where when the world is reopened, this program will shut down. There is no date that it's going to close, and it will be there. It'll be available for you to go and to utilize services if you need it. So before we close out the show, just 2 quick points of interest. So once again, we encourage you tomorrow night to join us for a very interesting event. We're going to do a first of its kind event. Tomorrow, we're going to do a wedding roundtable. So as we know, weddings have been postponed. We never use the word canceled. They've been postponed. But what does that leave? That leaves a wake of brides, grooms, groomsmen, venues, and vendors, all right now, to be quite frank and quite honest, all right now without revenue, without jobs, and without any idea of what they're doing and when they're coming back to work. So tomorrow night, we're going to have with us 3 experts in their field. They're going to be with us live. They're going to be taking your questions, and they're also going to be offering a COVID Talks exclusive. They're going to offer their time free of charge to any of the viewers who are watching that fill out a form, which we'll put up, and you'll be able to book a time, speak with them. Not a solicitation of service, just more of a, what are you doing and how do you think we could handle this? So they're going to be offering free advice, which we truly appreciate. So we invite you again to tune in tomorrow night at 7. All right, so that's it. We want to thank Neshama for being with us. We want to shout out, once again, Allison Cohen for putting this together, everyone at the JCC, and we wish you a good night. We invite you to tune in tomorrow night at 7. This has been COVID Talks, positive conversations during uncertain times. Thank you.